sales organization, you want 60% or better of your business coming from referrals.
And so now I'm learning that things are not so straightforward like that. Yeah. That's coming with time, maturity, emotional intelligence.
I started getting into the environment of hunting at 7.
Oh, wow.
Because I started to shoot the bow, bow and arrow and learning that.
What I learned is that people don't like the scripted version of you.
Well, guess what? That building was 100% leased, fully spoken for prior to certificate of occupancy.
I think that people don't see that. They just think, like exactly how you said, like it's just like, oh, I just woke up here.
There's two sides to passion, right? There's a harmonious side and there's an obsessive side.
Sometimes you expect the punch because that leaves the person open. So, I knew where to take my hits. I knew when to duck.
He looked at me straight in my face and told me, listen, I'm good whether you make it or you don't. I'm good. You're not.
Welcome to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and always will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest is Julio Reyes. Julio Reyes is a broker, co-broker, owner of Reyes and Elsamad, a real estate agency that focuses on sales, rentals, and commercial leasing in Brooklyn, New York. Julio and I, we talk, and one of the things, Julio, that I think I wanted to have you on as a guest on the podcast is because I like how you draw from everything going on around you, and you can bring it to real estate. And I think that's what we're missing in real estate. We need more of a realistic perspective, right? Not just selling deals or doing deals or signing contracts. There's a lot that you do. I think that a lot of realtors and real estate agents and salespeople in general can learn from. So thanks for taking the time to be a guest on the Bottom Line. I'm excited to have you on. How have you been, my man? How are things going?
Well, since we regularly speak, you know how I'm usually am. However, today, great day. Thank you for having me on. Can't wait to elaborate some of my experiences and share with your audience. Thank you for the opportunity. So
definitely,
I'm all ears. I can answer anything you'd like. I'll give you my personal insights to my day-to-day and our agents at the firm, because it's when you're managing and owning or co-owning in my current situation in our firm. It's Reyes Elsamad. Can't forget my partner. You look at it from a different standpoint as a management standpoint. So it's like you're the agent as well, but you're also the owner, and it's we'll get into that. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks, man. So what I'm really curious about, right? When we first started talking, I think when I got you, you were in San Diego, I think it was, right? And the rest of the world was trying to figure out, what was going on. And one of the things that made me really want to get to know more about you was just your energy through our conversation that we were having over the phone. So, we started talking a little bit about, the state of the market and what it was. But you were in San Diego. You were like chilling, having a good time, right? I think you were just traveling, right? How have you been over the last, let's say, during the pandemic and, traveling and all? How has that been going?
Correction, I was actually in San Francisco.
San Francisco. I get those two confused, yeah.
And I remember because it was rainy and it was a little bit miserable. You know how that weather gets. Yeah. I need that sun in my face, but it was basically, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on what I was doing there first, and then I'll basically touch base. I was just there for business. I was also on vacation, workcation, in the sense that, we kind of work remotely. That's the beauty about being a broker. Mm-hmm. Just pick up the phone, just make sure you're available for your clients that are currently in need of certain things that it doesn't matter where you are. You just got to pick up the phone at the end of the day, because you may be doing a deal that is not finished. And that's what I always preach. Guys, you are an agent. You have the liberties of exploring all over the world. Just bring your laptop, bring your phone, get on the Wi-Fi call, because guess what? you're not going to leave a deal hanging just because you're on the sun or whatever you're doing. You just can't. You know, your clients come first before your vacation. So at that time, you know, we were in San Francisco just looking at some properties and brokering some things out there with our clients. And it went well. I mean, thank you for giving me the kudos on my energy. Sometimes it's just the coffee, honestly. It is the nonstop caffeine in your veins, and that's how you got me. Yeah, I was in the middle of literally of a meeting, and you called me, and I was introduced yourself. I love the fact that you were very straightforward. It was a good personal moment for us. I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try, you know, and we've been friends and colleagues in the sense ever since what is that? September, October?
Yeah.
What was I think around there last year.
Yeah, some time ago, yeah. So talk to me about that, like what you said there, workcation, right? Because like there's a lot of different industries and sales that people could jump into, you know, but you're in real estate, and what you said is key, right? Like you don't have to be tied down to a desk. You can travel, you can enjoy your life, right? Why real estate? Tell me why real estate. What is it about real estate that excites you the most, or that attracted you to the sales game, to the real estate sales game?
Well, I fumbled into it. It was never a thing that I wanted to do. And even though my family was in real estate since when I was a kid, in South America. For most people that doesn't know, I'm Ecuadorian. My parents are from Ecuador, but my dad was always in the real estate developing world, internationally more so, but in New York City, not so much. He's just retired. He's happy.
Nice.
However, that was his thing, and my thing. I grew up, didn't really want to do real estate. I was like, okay, it's a thing. You buy properties, you live there, but it wasn't more of selling or anything like that. So I kind of fumbled into it by chance, by a little luck of the draw. I basically went to school to become a pilot, and I was in aviation for about 9 years, 10 years, give or take, in JFK. Various managerial positions at the airport. And then basically I stumbled one year because I got fed up of doing aviation. Mind you, this was my passion. And I went on Craigslist and I found a small boutique firm, and I joined about 5.5 years ago, and then never looked back. I said, hey, I could do this.
Nice.
I could just basically sell something. I think I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I think when you come from a managerial standpoint of managing at that time, oof. I mean, when I was at my senior position, I had 300 employees underneath me.
Wow.
And that was a headache. And that was one of the reasons why I did decide to leave, because you climb the corporate ladder and it's great and all, but do you really have freedoms that most people expect in life? Like, I would like to go on vacation and not be worried about some other people's vacation, because I am a senior manager and I'm basically the human resources manager, all bundled into one at that sense, right?
Yep.
I'm still worrying about people's vacations because you kind of you got to coordinate sometimes with the office.
Yeah.
But it's not as much. You manage a small team, and why real estate? Well, I went into I got in Craigslist. I joined this boutique firm. It was like 10 people. And I got a good vibe at that time. This was back in Bushwick, Brooklyn, 5 years ago, maybe 2016, 17-ish.
Yeah.
And the reason why I maintained it is because it was the interaction with the people that I love day to day, because I like to meet new people. I'm more of an introvert, but people swear that I'm an extrovert all the time.
Yeah.
And I just don't like meeting so many people at once. I can do a one-on-one. Hey, how are you? With a friend, I'll kill it.
Yeah.
But meeting random people, it's also a thing that I don't excel with.
Yeah.
I team up with people that actually help me,
You had me fooled. You definitely had me fooled. I thought you were an extrovert. Your vibe makes me think you're an extrovert for sure.
Yeah, I get teased a lot. Maybe I am. I don't know. The point of the matter is, the first couple of deals that I actually did were rentals, and I was doing matching up roommates to try to fill up a 3-bedroom apartment, because 6 years ago, the technology was theirs. There was Zillow, there was Trulia, there was all of these more, there was Street Easy was just emerging 6 years ago. It was still great, and it was also free at the same time. It was fabulous. But, at the time, Bushwick and Bed-Stuy and Williamsburg were also up and coming.
Right.
So prices were going higher. So, man, my old broker taught me, hey, do roommates. And when I met roommates, I was like, wow, I could kind of do this. This is kind of cool, just matching and pairing. Yeah. It was a $2,400 rental, a $3,000 rental. It was quick, 1 to 3. And guess what? It was the people that I met that made me stick around. It was also the fact that residential leasing, where I started, and I guess where most people start, it's recommended, right? People say just do that just so that you get your personality evolved more, like more of that customer service based, social aspect based, get to the point type, just learn how to close a rental before you start learning how to close larger deals. Because I see a lot of agents try to go from A to Z, and you don't know how to still interact with your client.
Yep.
There's certain buttons you got to push. There's certain buttons you shouldn't push. And that's how that's why real estate is what it is. So
for you, I think what I notice most about you, though, just listening to you talk, is like you've always had this global world view. Like you've always seen things big picture. You always had this like macro way of seeing things, where it's not just about what's going on immediately in front of you, but there's like a bigger picture, right? So you talked about your dad being, in real estate, international, right? So you've always had that. It's funny, I have 2 kids, right? And it's more about what they see than what I say. You know what I mean? And a lot of times I think as kids even, we've been exposed to so many things that, sometimes we kind of like subconsciously gravitate towards those things later on as adults, right? But one thing I'm hearing a lot right now, especially from you, is real estate is like the vehicle, but you genuinely like dealing with people, helping people, working with people, right? You've got an affinity towards people, and you also have like an affinity towards I guess relationships, right? Because you could be around people and it's not always like the best thing, because like you say, you're not really extroverted, but you're more introverted, but you're more like, I could deal with you one-on-one. That's more, you...
Introverted, I guess?
Yeah, not even so much introverted, just more like you kind of want to make sure that you have the details of what each individual needs versus dealing with the group setting, and then you got to like figure it out, and it's like you don't get as many details, right? So I think that's like speaks to how your level of success, right? Because you're very detail oriented in that way, dealing with people individually. But then the other thing too is like I also hear freedom, right? Like you like the freedom of being able to like travel, and you said the word workcation. I think that should be a hashtag, bro. Like workcation, because a lot of people, close deals. You see a lot of agents do this, right? They close deals and they go on a vacation, and it's like now they got to come back from the vacation and go make more money. But like a workcation is cool because you're still working and you're still getting the same, benefits of having a vacation. So it's like
but
that's pretty cool, yeah. So a lot of, I think what you're saying, I think a lot of agents can learn from that. If you're going to do business elsewhere and you're going to, you want to travel, you want to get more business around the country, around the globe, why not, make it part of what you're doing, right? Let me ask you this, right? I think when you got into rentals, because I got into rentals, I was in rentals for a while. I started out in rentals, and nobody ever chooses to get into rentals. It kind of just happens, right? And one of the things that I think you're right, it's kind of like school. It's like you go to school and you learn how to deal with people. You know how to build your confidence. You learn about the inventory, right? You learn about how to close a rental deal, right? If you had not started out as a rental agent, do you think you would have been as successful as you are now as a broker?
Probably not, just because you need to be exposed to a lot of nuances during the transaction phase and how to react during with those nuances that are maybe occurring on the fly.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, there's a situation just happened. There's the guarantor decided to not be the guarantor. What do you do? So you don't panic, you just find solutions.
Right.
And so that is why I say residential leasing maybe the easiest thing, and it's great because you do get paid quicker, a lot sooner than sales because they do take time to mature. But it's just, the answer is probably not. You need to be exposed to a lot of fires and learning how to dampen those fires and just cool it down. And I think that's the best way to do it. Go about it. Just start doing that.
Yeah, you know what's funny? In the city, when I was doing rentals, you get a lot of guarantor situations, right? And today, the guarantor situation in the sales transaction is usually a cosigner, right? And it's like if you weren't familiar with the guarantor situation and you didn't know how to if your applicant didn't qualify for a lease, right? They could get that guarantor for you to be able to. I think we were using back then. It was a company called Insurant. So you had people that were like just traveling from like the Midwest or down south. They didn't really have credit score like that. So they can get a guarantor because like maybe their mom was like, I'm sick of you, or I'm not going to pay for your rent or whatever, or you blew it last year. So now this year you got to figure it out. So there was a company called Insurant, and we would work with some of the applicants so that they can qualify for insurance. Today in sales, and especially, you find a lot of people in, I guess, the working class, blue collar, right? That they work, but their credit is not that great, so they need a cosigner. Had I not known about the guarantor situation, I would have never, told them, hey, you need a cosigner, right? Who can cosign for you to make that deal close? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's just like one challenge, and it's like probably the most common challenge I could think of. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges for you? Whether you were a rental agent or, you're doing sales or even as a broker, what would you say were some of the biggest challenges you've had over the past few years?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, I'm going through challenges right now as we speak, and it's my mind and my body might be here. And my mind, 90% of it is here, but there's that 10% in the back of your mind that I have to resolve this week for my client to acquire a specific property. And there's always these little things that are in the back of your mind. So challenges, I guess one of the biggest challenges is, and it's currently happening as we speak, or in the latter year and a half, I've encountered a couple of deals where the goalposts have been moved in regards to pricing. When there is no clear cut clarity on the seller's, I guess, pricing and or deal structure. Where there is an asset to be sold, he says, get me this number and I will sell. And then what happens, the number has been received from my buyers, a couple of them. The goalpost has been moved and say, oh, you know what, let me pivot. Maybe this was not the best idea. Maybe I should restructure a deal where it's, instead of an outright sale, it could be a partnership. So, where you just got to be flexible and patient. And these deals can easily die if you don't have persistence. And mind you, these deals do take a long time before a contract are signed because there's no clear path to a contract signing. And because there's numerous reasons why these things happen in real estate. It could be a family that is too emotionally attached to an asset. Happens all the time. It could be, you gave me this offer so quick. Maybe I undervalued the property. There you go. I mean, blame the broker for being a great broker. I made the deal happen. $1 million deals. It's on the table for you to happen. I found the right buyer. Guess what? It's not happening.
You know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing because I've been in that situation a few times, right? Where it's like, I know, because you could probably go in intentional, like I know I can get this done at this price, right? And so your time frame, right? You pretty much know what you're doing, right? But here's the seller who's like, oh, if you did it that fast, let's see if I get this price, right? And I'm like, I'll tell the seller and I'll say, hey, you ever heard of beginner's luck? That's what this is. It can't be done again. It's called beginner's luck. And you're the beginner. This is your first time doing this transaction. I'm happy for you. Yes, I represent you on this deal, but you're in the beginning phase. I've done a few of these. This is your first one. So do you know anything about beginner's luck? And they're like, yeah, well, I'll roll the dice again, or all right, fine, bring me another one. Let's see if I could beat it. The worst one is what you said. Like, this is what makes commercial leasing so difficult, or even the commercial like deals.
This is a sale here.
Okay.
This leasing. I think sometimes leasing might be straightforward because that's the rent.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about a couple of scenarios when it's commercial sales.
Tell me more about the commercial sale where there's like, this is what I don't know, right? And I kind of want you to tell me now, because that's one variable that I'm like, in coaching, I tell people, don't be attached to the outcome. Yes, work your ass off, do everything you can, right? Represent your seller, like do everything you can, be the best you can be for that deal, right? But don't be attached to the outcome because things change, right? And I say that a lot through my coaching calls, right? And, so tell me, and this is what I don't know, so I need you to educate me about this a little bit, right? When a seller says, you know what, I see a potential for a partnership here, how do you deal with that, right? And how do you let go of that outcome knowing that you could have gotten the deal done, but there wasn't a partnership included or involved?
Well, usually joint ventures would be structured. Joint venture would be a partnership there between two people here, two companies. Look, if you didn't know that was the original subject matter in order to do the deal, it's a curveball that may strike you out just because you have buyers that do not want to have a partnership with you. If they can afford for example, a $5 or $10 million deal easily within their wheelhouse, why would they need you as a partner? For the benefit of the seller, they may say, I still retain the asset. I need somebody to either A, develop the land, B, retrofit an office building into residential, convert it. See a lot of those things happening right now. There's a lot of office buildings that have been vacant during COVID, and they just don't really have the time or the equity to do the conversion, and that just takes a long time processes. So they would bring somebody with the capital and the experience to actually do the renovation XYZ. Anyway, there's many forms of structuring a JV partnership, but when you're not mentally prepared for that, you're exhausted for trying to get you the deal to outright sale. And B, honestly, I could see why brokers would be upset and just, this guy wasted my time.
Yeah.
So the seller in this case, not the buyer. The buyer's ready to rock and roll. But sometimes you got to work with your client and say, hey, you know what? It's not such a bad idea. Let's cost up front, meet the seller. You guys may have a great synergy to become partners. Yeah. And it could be the first of many, there's different ways, and those are the challenges that you would expect. You just got to have an open mind. You got to just pivot a little bit, go back and say, okay, how can we structure a partnership then? Yeah. And is this the end game? Is this the end game? Because I do not want to go back and say, oh, you know what? I tried the partnership. It didn't really go well with the family. Let us go back to the sales again, but at that time, your buyers may not be hanging around. Got it. Yeah. So you encounter these things when you have sellers they just don't have an idea of what to do with their asset. Yeah. So it sounds to me like you just got to be open to making those changes and, making those adjustments, but you got to be open to it. Right. And as you work the deal out, you kind of got to let the seller see that, yes, we're going to explore that option, but it may not work in your favor, but let's go ahead and explore it, right? I know some guys in the commercial space, they're short-tempered, they got a short fuse, and they'll blow the deal once the deal changes. And I've seen that. That's why I never really dabbled too much in the commercial side. I like residential and mixed-use properties. I like those deals a lot because they're pretty straightforward, right? Let me ask you this, right? When we're going through the pandemic, the commercial sector took a hit, right? And people were working from home, people were working remotely, people weren't going out. How was your business? Were you still pretty busy when commercial took a hit? There was a complete decline in commercial just because there was nobody leasing office space, and the retail market was pretty non-existent since a lot of, except I guess you could say maybe if there was expansion, it would have been COVID centers. But that would have been probably a year lease, 6 months lease, or there was nothing really substantial there. It took a big hit for us. you got to be busy. You have to be busy. You have to project on what to do for the clients. If somebody is panicking, as a broker, you have to observe and analyze. Okay, this seller might be an opportunity to do business with, because he may, say, you know what, this is the time. And I saw a lot of people panic. There was a lot of fire sales.
Yeah.
A lot of fire sales, but a lot of people just decided to hold on and ride the wave. I believe Larry Silverstein said this once. He said he's been in New York City. I will never change it for the world. I will always be here.
Yeah.
He's been through 9/11. Guess what? New York City bounced back. He was through the mortgage crisis in 08, 09. Guess what? New York City bounced back. And then guess what? COVID, it will bounce back. And now you can't even find, everything just went back to normal. All the residential leasing, sales are back up, normalized.
Yeah.
6 months after, in theory, we're in COVID technically, but everything is back.
Yeah. You know what? You sound you're a true New Yorker, man. Because like during the pandemic, I'm talking to people and there was a great exodus. People are leaving New York because they realize they don't got to work in the city anymore. They can work anywhere pretty much. So, but every New Yorker I talked to was like, nah, we'll be back. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to get back to normal. It's just a little bit of time. We're going to bounce back. Right. And that's exactly what I was hearing from a lot of people. But let's be honest, right? We're paying more money for gas right now, right? We're paying more money. We're getting hit at the pump, hit at the grocery stores. Everything is up. It's inflationary times, right? Do you still see the commercial game, commercial real estate, people renting offices? Do you see that there's more of a need for that now? Or do you think people are, when you say bounce back, I guess I want to know more. What do you mean when you say bounce back? Because we started to bounce back and then prices went up and we got hit with inflation. So it's like, are we still bouncing back or what?
There is I primarily work in the outer boroughs other than New York City per se. We do leasing in Manhattan, but I would say Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Long Island, there is still a lot of vacancies. However, with regards to the retail sector, it's picked up for us. The business has picked up. A lot of people are taking more chances on themselves and seeing the business fly. There is no COVID restrictions that you have to separate 6 feet anymore. And, people are willing to gamble. I mean, so it's definitely picked up. From an office standpoint, that is a little bit slow. We have seen in our office at the very least that it does take couple of months to mature to actually bring people into the office sector, because yes, still work from home, and which is not a lie, but guess what? New York City there's no other place in the world. I mean, you have transportation is so accessible. Gasoline prices. If you're in Houston, Texas, guess what? You're driving, paying $5 of gas gallon of tank. We're here in the city, $2.75 on the metro.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the same thing, you quicker. Yeah. At the end of the day, when I meant by bounce back, I meant more on the residential leasing side.
Got it.
It's insane. There's not a lot of inventory for 1 bedrooms in Brooklyn. Queens, you'll always have. Don't get me wrong, but the pricing wasn't there before. Like I remember straight in COVID, even in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, there were so many 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. My team rented out 2 bedrooms for like $1,800.
Wow.
$2,000 in prime Williamsburg. Like in Bushwick and Bed-Stuy. I'm like, what is this?
Because they got to make it happen. You got to fill these vacancies. When I first started out, they were doing the OPs, the owner pays. I don't know if you remember those. And the OPs, I was uptown. I was like,
owners were paying during the lockdown, and they were taking anything that they can get. But there was a lot of owners that said, I am not renting them out, and I'm going to keep them vacant.
Okay.
Because if I get stuck at that number, I'm going to get stuck at that number.
Which makes sense.
There was a lot of, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of, on-the-fly discussions of how to mitigate this current issue. You get stuck in the rent. If it's rent stabilized, should I rent it at $2,000 or just hold, bear down? Next year, it will go back to $2,700.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, you don't want to get stuck at that number. I get it. And then that vacancy rate too is a little tricky to figure out how to apply on a rent stabilized building. You can't apply it. So it's like, here's the problem. I think the moratorium kind of shot everybody in the foot, right? And it was kind of like, that's what made everybody at a standstill, that moratorium. So it's kind of like when people started to realize, you know, the moratorium was like the deadline was approaching, then they had to figure out, where am I going to get this money to pay the rent? Either they're going to pay the rent or they're going to find a new place. And I think a lot of people didn't have the money to pay the rent, so they started to look for new places. So then we started to get a little bit of traction, we started to get some movement. At the end of the day, I think most people, like on the tenant side, right, they had money, but they didn't want to pay because they didn't have to pay. And you see the same thing in the sales game where those forbearances were just like, you know, people had the forbearances, they didn't have to pay, but when they did have to pay, they had to cover the entire amount, right? And it was like, you had to cover the entire amount. I remember talking to another guy who does commercial financing, and he was telling me how during the pandemic, they were asking for you to have, I think, at least 5 years. You had to have a certain number put aside just in case. 2 years or something put aside just in case of another pandemic or a crisis or something, right? And that's how banks were lending. So I think, you know, case by case, it was really tricky during the pandemic. I think we just started to come out of, you know, the lockdowns and, you know, the moratorium and all the unemployment benefits, and then we get hit with these numbers now, you know, inflationary numbers, right? And people are still trying to figure it out. But I see it too. I think the commercial industry is bouncing back, and it's really about what businesses are going to be leasing spaces, you know, in these new, because there were construction projects that were also paused. Some of them were continuing to work, but a lot of construction projects were put on pause, right? So I see a lot of activity in the commercial space. We talked a little bit about, you know, some of the challenges, right? I want to talk more a little bit now about what excites you most. Because right now we're approaching spring selling season, right? People, like you said, are starting to believe in themselves, invest in themselves. People are looking to grow, right? So commercial will, you know, bounce back. What excites you the most, though, about where we're headed right now in the commercial industry?
Well, commercial industry is a broad paint stroke. Right?
For you, where you're at, like what you're doing, commercial leasing and sales.
Commercial leasing and sales, and in regards to the industrial sector, which I primarily focus in the office, it's booming. People who are looking to find in the boroughs. Let's give an example. Have a lot of end users or a lot of small businesses right now, because we do the commercial leasing side, and those companies want to now buy instead of just lease. Why am I paying high price per square foot? So when I try to educate people, hey, a 5,000 square foot warehouse, you might have gotten during the recession or prior to the recession, clearly. Let's say Brooklyn, Queens, let's give an average number, $250 a foot. You could find to acquire something like that between $200 and $250 a foot. Would have been like something reasonable on a 5,000 square foot warehouse. Now it's $450 and above. People understand the need for it. People understand that New York City is growing, and there's not a lot of industrial zoning within New York City that you can actually have these assets, right? You may have a little sporadic little warehouse here and there in a funky little area, but certain corridors in New York City, specifically meant for industrial light manufacturing use, distribution use, and that sector is ridiculous. The pricing has gone up 20%, 30% easily in the last year, and good businesses can't find warehouses within their budget to acquire. And I see some of them just going out to Yonkers. They're just going a little bit more upstate because they figured, hey, why not? It's still kind of New York. Yeah. So it's not. But then you have Jersey. The influx is going as, and I hope that we don't get to a point where all of these industrial, because remember, industrial is limited. It's not like it's not residential. We have a lot of areas for residential all over New York City. You can still build vertical. Yeah. But industrial, you can't build high. It's just usually 1 floor or 2 floor. That's it. So I hope we don't get to a point where everybody is increasing the value of the warehouse acquisition price, where they can't get the regular businesses to pay that rent. You know, I see a lot of warehouses vacant. Yeah. Because you're asking X amount of rent. And businesses just can't obviously function that way. They gotta actually make a profit. It's not going all the way to your rent. So and that sector has been going well. I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, larger deals, Amazon has been gobbling up.
Facebook.
It's insane. Everybody's building last mile distribution centers that are 200,000 square feet in the Bronx, in Long Island. Everybody's trying to acquire that big fish.
Yeah.
Right now, usually, UPS and FedEx would be the standard, going back ways back to when DHL, Express. Everybody's looking out for the new guys on the block, which is Amazon. If you can land something like that where it's a 10-year lease.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's trying to just speed up and trying to acquire assets like that because they know it.
And there's huge tax incentives around that too, acquiring some commercial assets, right? I think a lot of people are starting to see that and they're starting to take advantage of it now, especially after the pandemic, right? It's like, and the more I listen to like, economists, like guys on Kitco or like Bloomberg or Yahoo Finance, you hear those, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. So what people were paying for like commercial real estate pre-pandemic versus now, I think is probably more affordable for a lot of these like bigger businesses, right? And I think at the end of the day, I was a little concerned, right? Because like you saw co-work spaces popping up. You're talking like back in 2008, man, when we got hit with Lehman and we were starting to come out of it. I think we started to come out of it around 2010. We just started to like peek our heads out a little bit to see if, we can get out of it a bit. We get hit with the pandemic in 2019. We're in 2022 now. I'm guessing like more around 23, maybe even 24 is when we could start to peek our heads out a little bit, and we could start to see a little bit of maybe an uptick, you know what I mean, and in the economy itself, right? But I don't think commercial will ever go away. I think people will always, certain people, guys like us, right? The go-getters, the action takers, the guys who are out in the streets pounding the pavements. A lot of guys will want commercial spaces. They will want to sign commercial leases. They will want to buy commercial assets. They will want to do it because they need to expand. They need to grow. And right now we're talking just about New York City, but like we said in the beginning, when we talked, you were in San Francisco. So it's like now you have more access to inventory nationally and globally because of this pandemic. Your client base will grow nationally and globally because more people are working remotely. So people will need more commercial assets around the country and around the world, right? As we start to expand like this global view now, you know what I mean? I don't see it going away. I don't really see it going away,
Well, I agree with that sentiment. It's not going to go away. I could say that the biggest issue was for commercial in general was just the lack of people just afraid to go to the office space and just the business, the momentary and the businesses. That it was just a hiccup,
It was just a hiccup.
It's gone. Prices are skyrocketing. People are doing deals left and right, and even right now with the war in Ukraine and Russia, have you seen a beat? No, it just keeps the engine that can. It just keeps going. Can't stop. It's unfortunate what's happening over there, but in New York City and in at least the tri-state area, it's just the engine keeps going.
So the way you think, I like the way you think, right? And that's really what I meant by your energy. Is just like it continues to go. You got this global perspective, this global view, macro view. How important is it for you to work with people that share that mindset? Talk to me about how you pick people to join your team. How you pick people. How do you tell who has that similar mindset? Are you coming across people like that? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Look, what can I tell you? You've been through the ins and outs of brokerages.
Yeah.
What you see is not what you always get. The paper, the paper might be glossy and it might be a nice thick paper, but when you write on it and it's just like the quality is just not there when you just write on that piece of paper. It looks great.
Right.
So it's hard to determine who to join your team. You will always have people try to impress you. I think the human nature would be, I want to do it. I see it all. I got a feeling I could be successful, And once you get into the nick of things, quite the opposite.
Just the opposite, yeah.
How do I identify that? Well, I've had in my office for the last 3 years since we are a startup, right? 2 years and a half, 3 years, basically, more or less. Do I count COVID as a year? I don't even know.
It's still a year. Yeah, it was a year in a decline, but it's a year.
It was a halt. It was a decline a little bit. But, look, at the end of the day, I don't mind hiring newer agents that have a year or less of experience. Sometimes you get a diamond in the rough, and then it becomes nice and shiny, and they will be successful and make it a career. However, we've in our office generally try to pivot towards somebody who has that 2 to 4 year experience mark, just because they've already bounced around a couple of firms, and they've already got the experiences of what other firms offer and what we offer.
Yeah.
This way, there's no guessing game. This way, there's no, what if, and where am I going to be at? So that for me determines, I think, a little bit of quality there, because I don't really have to explain the nuances of what is a real estate agency, because a lot of people feel that going to big firms will make them successful. On the contrary, I have people that join me from big firms, and it's a team at the end of the day. And whether that team is 50 or 30 or 20, it's still a team. Larger corporations will have probably access to technology 100%. But at the end of the day, the technology will only get you so far. It's still pounding the pavement and speaking, because that's all it is. I mean, you're selling a house to a human being. You're not selling a house to a robot.
Yeah.
Yet. But so at the end of the day, what makes me tick in terms of, okay, how do I find somebody that I like or who I like? You got to be a natural go-getter. I mean, I always see people in front of me. I want to join. Tell me about yourself. Why? Just why real estate? Like, why I want to dig into your brain, because it's not for everybody.
Right.
I've seen people come in and out, in other companies that I've been with, and in my company. You will have people that say yes, 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 but this wasn't for me.
Right.
Because what happens is that everything is commission based.
Yep.
You have to understand that if you just gotta survive. Commission is not a salary. You can't depend on a check for 2 weeks. What happens if it doesn't come in a month?
Yeah.
You can still keep at it. So that's where I try to really interrogate, in the sense, a future or potential colleague in my firm. Why do you want to do this, and where do you want to be at in 5 years? That's because if you want to do this and then also do music, and then I want to open up a restaurant, have a great day. It's not for you.
Right.
Real estate. You just want to do it part-time, and if that's the case, that's great, and all part-timers are great. We have part-timers, but that's someone I would shy away from immediately.
Gotcha. What do you think is more important, passion or excitement?
Passion.
Okay.
Let me tell you something about excitement in real estate. It's in one door and out the other.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. And then when it's real estate, it's always about the next deal. It's really about the next deal, because you're excited. One day you're, oh my God, I'm sending out a contract, and then you're excited. The buyer has remorse. Oh, you know what? There's an excuse. The excitement is gone. What then?
Yeah.
Passion, because guess what? It's about the next deal. You can't let that phase. This year I had a few properties die. One person passed away. That we didn't expect that. That was unfortunate, and the deal died. Now the attorneys are trying to handle that. There's a lot of curveballs in real estate, but if you don't have the passion, you could easily say, "Oh, this is not for me." I spent 60 days on a deal and I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
That's the reality.
That's the reality, and that's passion, because it's always about the next deal. You just can't look back and dwell on that negativity. So you'll get excitement, man. You'll get excitement when you get that check. Great, that will always drive you to the next one and the next one and the next one.
You know, for me, I always thought the opposite, right? I always thought excitement over passion, because I've had passion for the game, and I've seen people that are in the game 20 years, 30 years. You know what I mean? And I've seen, for me though, I'm a little, this is coming from learned experience, right? So like my learned experience is that my excitement comes around me learning the nuances of the deal. Because I learned, like 2021, I was all about winning or learning. I never saw a loss. I never counted a loss as a loss. I saw it as a learning opportunity, an opportunity to learn and then teach, right? So I said, to me, what excites me is an opportunity to learn. And when I first started out, you know how it is, right? In the beginning, you don't know much. There was no YouTube videos to watch. There was no like Instagram or Facebook. There wasn't access to this kind of information that we have today. So what excited me the most, especially with rentals, was like I needed to learn how not to just show a unit, but I need to learn how to qualify an applicant, right? And I had to learn how to qualify the guarantors. And I had the passion in the beginning, but I kind of got jaded because I saw so many people give up after I was on a team. There was like 5 guys on my team. Out of that 5, maybe only 2 of us were left, right? Because the other 3 couldn't hack it. You know what I mean? So it was like, but me learning, when I started to learn like the process, the deal flow, I said, okay, I could do this on my own. And that excited me. The opportunity to learn. But at the same time, I can see what you're saying too, where passion is super important, because the excitement, and you're 100%, I've been on that side too, where I've had deals fall through and I put in 60 days, 90 days. I've made the calls, I showed up, I like hand delivered documents. I've done all of that, and the deal fell through because they found something somewhere else and they never told me about it. And I was like, well, what's the excitement then, right? So I've been on both sides, and I think what's interesting is for an agent to learn about how they're wired. You know what I mean? Are you wired by excitement? Are you wired by the check? Are you excited about the check? Is that what's exciting you? Are you excited about the people that you're meeting? Are you excited to learn new information? Are you excited to be an apprentice and come in super humble and just learn as you go? You got to learn how you're wired. I think that's super important. You know what I mean? The other thing I wonder with you is, what do you think is more important, talent or hard work?
There's no clear-cut balance there. It's either one or A. What do you? I think. Let me be honest. Always transparency. I think hard work will overcome being talented, because I've seen in real estate is probably one of the few businesses that, you know, hard work will pay off over talent, just because I see people that are beginner's luck all the time. For example, talent is great. Don't get me wrong. I want talented people, but you can see people that don't have so much talent, and then they're just there and they close deals just because they're hard workers. They're not smarter than the next guy. They're not cleverer than the next guy. They just are hard workers.
Yeah.
And they don't care for rejection.
Yeah.
That's just hard work. That's not talent. That's just, okay, hey, you know, I want to sell your property. Does that require a lot of talent? It does. Don't get me wrong. It does require charm and charisma as well on top of that. But it's hard work. I think that's always going to be the key, because talent will only get you so far. But you got to just keep doing what you do.
Love that. I agree with you 100%, man. 100%. Work hard. Yeah. And work smart, right? And be consistent. I think being consistent is key. You gotta be consistent.
Talent, you know, there's nothing wrong with talent, but I mean, I'll tell you something, there's always somebody better than you. It's always gonna be the same thing. There's always somebody that may be clever, more applied, but if you have your formula and that formula works, it will pay off.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
Definitely. Okay. So before we wrap up real quick, I just got, we're going to do what we call hands down the lightning round. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. If you don't want to answer the question, just say pass. It's pretty much like one word, one sentence, kind of like a lightning round, right? Let me know what you think about these 3 topics. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. First one, Best way to recalibrate after a crazy week.
And that's on Monday to Friday, because I usually have crazy weeks nonstop. Never. How to recalibrate after a week? For me, unwinding at home and seeing TV and just hanging out with friends.
Yep.
I just need to not talk about real estate. That's the best way to do it. And your mind has to be away, because even when you're on remember I told you the topic of workation? You'll bring your work with you, and you should, because you have deals that you cannot just fully escape.
Right.
The weekend for me would be being with friends that already know what I do, but don't want to talk about real estate per se.
Yeah.
It's always great to talk about it, but it's like, it's not really an interview process of just real estate.
Yeah.
So that would be the best way to me unwind.
Okay.
Grab a drink, go to a restaurant, and not talk about real estate.
Okay. Work-life balance. Is it a thing? Does it exist or not really?
Work-life balance does exist. You have to do, especially in this world. For me, on a personal note, right? For me, you need to have work-life balance, because what you do consumes you.
Yeah.
Real estate consumes you, and especially if you're on the managerial side, principal broker side, president side, you wear all of these multiple hats, secretary, cleaning, just nonstop, it will consume you. So that's why I go back to the first question. You need a moment of just break.
Got it.
And I speak to my partner about this. Hey, you know what? Let's go on, I don't know, a freaking nature walk, for the love of Christ. Let's just go fishing.
Yeah.
Something that it has to be balanced, because I know there's always a Monday. If you're healthy, you will always go back to another Monday. Thank God, knock on wood. And it's back again at the same thing.
Nice.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And this one is for men in particular, right? Do you think it's important for men to learn how to fight, dance, a combination of both, and cook?
Well, let me tell you something. I'm Spanish, so I know. So I've been learning how to dance since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was a thing. I didn't really like it at the beginning. I was like, why am I dancing?
Yeah.
In our culture, you gotta dance. I mean, it's merengue, salsa, bachata. So, and that will always, trust me, man, for the gentlemen out there, that will always get you a first date, because women love to see a guy who dances and is outgoing. Yeah. Cooking, I order out sometimes. I just go out. I mean, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with learning how to cook.
Yeah.
That's always it. What was the first one?
Dancing, cooking, fighting. Should have been fighting.
Well, a little funny story. I was in karate. I never really applied it. I was in karate I was like a blue belt when I was a kid. I'm a lover, not a fighter. That's my motto. I will just, there's no need to fight. You can defend yourself. But I think the most important thing for me probably be dancing.
Got it.
Yeah. I mean, cooking, just order out, man. Just learn how to dance and you'll be successful.
Nice. I love that. I think dancing and leading have a lot of parallels. If you know how to dance, you know how to lead. And I think a lot of men need to go take a dance class so they can learn how to lead, because they forgot how to lead. And today's man is still looking for ways to lead. You know what I mean? So I think, I kind of like wanted to get your input on that a little bit.
Oh, you see that, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, do we want to be aggressive and all that? Yes, you can learn how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
We're not trying to bring negativity into sort of create issues of fighting.
Right.
Move that aside and focus on you and learn your craft. And cooking, hey, I mean, I love to cook, but I mean, we're gonna go all over. This is gonna take years of explanation here. But for me, dancing. Of those three topics, dancing.
Dancing. Nice. Yeah. Very nice. And finally, you, Julio, what is your bottom line, right? That reoccurring truth, no matter what, deals fall through, bad week, you go back to this reoccurring truth, it serves as rocket fuel for you to get you back on point. What is that for you? What's your bottom line?
What do you mean elaborate more on the bottom line in terms of...
So for me, my bottom line is raise the bar, right? And anything that I do, if I fail at something, I'm like, I could have done better. I have to raise the bar in this. I have to raise the bar in that area of my life, right? So for me, my bottom line is like raise the bar. For you, what would that be for you? Deals fall through, you got a bad week, but you go back to this truth for you. It serves as an anchor to keep you right back on track? Like you said, right? I kind of, for you, like, it's tied around passion. What is it that keeps you passionate about what you're doing? What's your bottom line? Something that everybody can take away from and they can learn from.
That's a very good question. I think for me, my bottom line is to try to expose myself to new relationships. That's what keeps me going, because the deal will always be there once you have a relationship in place. And I try to meet new people all the time, corporations, homeowners, mom and pops, because guess what? I hate cold calling. I do not.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I'd like to meet and greet.
Yeah.
We just hosted, along with my partners on the mortgage side and the law firm that we're involved with, we just hosted an event for friends and business at MSG. We went to see the Rangers and the Ducks. And we invited about, 14 people.
Nice.
And then we all like a mixture, saw the game. There were people there that I've never met before in my life. I love that.
Nice.
So that's my bottom line. The next week, meet more people.
Nice.
Because guess what? I'm gonna still be doing what I was doing before, which is renting or selling something.
Yeah.
But if you don't meet more people, how are you creating business?
Yeah. So you are extroverted. There it is.
So a little
Not really.
No. Look, I'm great behind an email. Amazing behind an email.
Yeah.
but again, when I'm with a supporting cast, I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Love that, man. Thanks for taking the time. This was a really good one. I learned a lot, Julio, honestly. I definitely did. Thanks for taking the time. I hope other realtors listen to this, other salespeople listen to this and get their takeaways from this, right? Julio, where do people find you? Where, if they're looking for you on social, where do people find you?
Just our company name is Reyes and Elsamad. So Reyes, Reyes, Elsamad is Elsa Mad, Elsamad. And just Instagram it. There's not a lot of Reyeses out there that have that name as a corporate brokerage. So you'll be easy to find us. And you Google us as well. And website, reyeselsamad.com, or find me on LinkedIn, Julio Reyes. I'll be there. LinkedIn is a powerful tool, guys.
Yep.
Use it and abuse it, because that will be your networking as well. It's all about networking in this game.
There it is. And Julio will be more than happy to meet you because he loves meeting people. So follow Julio on Instagram, Reyes and Elsamad, right? Definitely feel free to reach out. If you're a realtor looking to join a team and you've got the right mindset, definitely reach out to Julio, right? This was a lot of fun. Thanks for taking the time, Julio. Definitely looking forward to speaking to you some more. This was the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.
Wow. I love that. I am going to take that from you.